This is KOOP HD1 HD3 Hornsby, radio for people, not for profit. Welcome to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Each week, we explore how your library is more than books. The library is knowledge, technology, and inspiration for our community. Hello and welcome. I'm Kanya Lyons, and I'll be your host today. And today's guest is APL's new communications manager, Rachel Nguyen. And in this first part of the program, we're going to get to know her a little bit. And then in the second half of the program, we're going to discuss the new AISD Student Library Card and how to get one. So I want to welcome you. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you.
Thanks
Excited
for coming.
to be here.
Yeah. It's always fun to be in the co-op studio. And it's always fun to talk about the library. So
Yes.
It's like my two favorite things. So before we kind of dive into the library stuff, where do you come from?
Well, I come from outside of Chicago, actually, but I've been in Austin 14 years, so that almost makes me an Austinian, I suppose. I grew up with a great little library in my hometown.
Neat. So yeah, tell me what was your library experience like growing up?
Well, it was funny. It was probably a 1960s style building, a little bit cold on the outside, but very warm and friendly on the inside. I have really great memories of riding my bike. We only had one library in the town, but I was about 5 blocks away, so that was great. And I'd ride my bike there and scurry downstairs to the children's area and find the stack of Secret 7 books, which was like my favorite kids series, and squirrel away in a corner and read my books. It's great memories.
I have very similar memories at the public library here in Austin when I was a kid. Can you share maybe a specific memory or anything that stands out, like a moment when you were like, I love books or reading or libraries or anything like that, a moment in time?
So many. But I do remember being deathly afraid of the librarian that worked down there, which was just so silly because the one time I mustered up the courage to actually go talk to her. She was wonderful. And she's like, oh, if you like that series, you should try this series and this series. So that was like one sort of moment. I'm like, okay, I have to just stop being so afraid of all these wonderful people that are working here.
Yeah, the librarians, man, they always had my back. They'd be like, oh, you just finished that book? Well, do you know about this book? And I'd be like, no, I haven't heard of that one. So,
and I think too, after once I went away to college, it was more, the library was a very different type of place for me. It was a place of work and study. But then when I had kids, we really came back to the library again in full force, and you forgot how wonderful it really is. And it's so fun to watch them explore and find new things and see their eyes light up. So it's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people have that perception that the library is like really a childhood thing, or it's for kids. And I think I kind of felt that way too, but it's definitely like there's so much more that's happening at the public library, and there really is stuff for people of all walks of life. So it's interesting that there's the perception of like, oh, it's for kids and kids this and that, and of course it's an amazing place for children and to raise children.
Yes.
But yeah, we have programs for seniors and for people of all ages. We have a lot of working professionals that come in and use the new library. I'm sure you've interacted.
Yes, the library downtown it just warms my heart to see all the different ages interacting. I mean, we have everybody there, and I love to see the high school kids come in, after school and plop down in the benches and get to work. It really is an all ages activity now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and even the branches, like it's surprising how many people really rely on their library. So if you're just joining us, this is Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. We're on Co-op, KOOP 91.7 FM, and we're streaming at koop.org. We have details about this show online at library.austintexas.gov/volumes. And today we are talking with Rachel Nguyen, who is the library's new communication manager. And so before you came to work at the Austin Public Library, you were already involved in the library community. You handled development for the Library Foundation. Can you talk a little bit about the work you did there and what kind of drew you to that work?
Yeah, well, I've loved libraries, and so it was. I actually started on the board there. I just wanted to get involved and give back, and it was wonderful. And then a job opened up in development, and my background is marketing, but I figured, development's just like marketing with a little spin on it. So I got some great lessons from some people that worked there, and some people, consultants that helped us, and I just kind of jumped right in, and it's easy to talk about the library for me. There's not a lot of things that I could go out and stump for, but the library was very easy. So it was a great job, and it introduced me to tons of people at the library. And of course, I saw how awesome it is. I also didn't really realize how many non-librarians work at the library. There's so many jobs, and the APL has an amazing communications department, the Office of Partnerships and Programs. So I started thinking, this might be a great place to work someday.
Neat. Yeah. I feel the same way as you do. Like, the library is one of the few things that I really feel so passionately about that I could stump for like all day long. Yeah. So, I guess, what is it like? We were kind of talking about this earlier, but like, what is it about libraries, or why do you think that public libraries are so critical to communities?
Oh my gosh, so many reasons why, but it's just part of the community. It has so many meanings to everyone, or to various people that use it. For some people, it's just a place of pure joy and entertainment. For other people, it's a critical resource where they can find access to things that they really need. And I also see a lot of people moving back to the library after sort of thinking that there's other ways to communicate. They're like, it's better to do it in person, and it's better to be in a safe and friendly environment, and to connect with the people in my neighborhood. So I do think they're critical, and they're kind of the guardians of the future, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were earlier, when you were talking about like libraries, like, what initially sparked your interest in, I guess, getting involved with the Library Foundation as a board member? I guess before you even worked there, was it just the library aspect?
It was the library. I also felt really fortunate that at the time I didn't have to work, and so I'm like, if I am gonna give my time and energy to something, what I have the freedom to do something I'm really passionate about. And I really just believe in libraries. And so I decided that was where I wanted to put all my energy.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's heartwarming. Yeah, it really is. It was meaningful work, and it's very rewarding because like you said, it is so critical and important in the community. So we're going to keep talking with Rachel here, but first we're going to take a little break, and we're going to listen to a short podcast about the library's podcast. And after this clip and some announcements, we're going to continue this discussion with Rachel Nguyen, and we're going to learn about the new AISD Student Card.
Great.
So today I am recording a very special bonus podcast. We could also call this the podcast because it's a podcast about the podcast. So first of all, my name is Kanya Lyons, and I'm a senior public information specialist at the Austin Public Library System. And I've been in this position for about 10 years now. We are in the city of Austin, Travis County, Texas. The name of our podcast is Volumes. And let's see, my friend Connor Walker, my coworker and friend, wrote a proposal for the podcast. in March of 2015, and by September of 2015, the first episode had been recorded and uploaded, and we've been going strong ever since. And then in October of 2016, we started doing a weekly radio show on KOOP 91.7 FM, which is a community radio station, solar powered and volunteer run. And the library does a half-hour show every Wednesday. Those are also podcasted, each week. Right after the show, we have a volunteer who uploads that episode and people can access it. And our podcast is available at library.austintexas.gov/volumes. Basically, we decided to start a podcast as a way to connect with the community. We really saw it kind of as an extension of our collection, providing stories that are about the library, stories that are about the community that we serve. The goal of our podcast is really just to share these stories, to share our stories of what the library has to offer, as well as stories of people and organizations in the community. The podcast started out, again, I mentioned that it was the dream child of Connor Walker, but he left us soon after the podcast was approved, so he actually never recorded an episode. But there were 4 of us at first recording podcast episodes. 2 of those people are no longer working at the library, so primarily it's me now, and most of what we're loading to the podcast is these weekly live radio episodes where we interview people who work at the library or people who are providing programs at the library, and we talk about books and materials at the library, as well as fun and exciting events and programs and news. Today, I'm about to interview someone who works for the city of Austin, and he's going to talk about climate change and how that is affecting Austin. He's providing a program in July at the new Central Library that's called Talk Green to Me. As far as the success of our podcast, we did win a Texas Library Association award for the podcast. So that is a good measure of our success. I think my favorite episode was when so at one of our branches, the Carver branch, there is a monthly open mic, and Bill Donaldson organizes it. He works at that library and has for a number of years. And he just invites people from the community to come and perform, and everyone is given the same opportunity to sign up and have their moment on the mic. It turns into this really communal sharing where it felt like a very loving group of people who are very encouraging of each other's creativity. We did a little interview with 3 of the performers from the open mic live on the radio, and that was very exciting. As far as advice that I would give to libraries who wish to start a podcast, realize that it's going to take a lot of time and that you will need to have some technical skills, or you will need a volunteer who has really, high-level technical skills to make sure that the quality is good enough that people are going to want to listen to it. And then also I would just make sure that you know your audience, who's listening. Not necessarily everybody who uses the library listens to podcasts, so you have to kind of dig in a little bit. I think the most important thing is just to be genuine, conversational, kind of be yourself and be open, and people will tune in. People are interested in hearing lots of different types of stories. And I guess that's the end of our podcast. Thanks for listening. Again, I'm Kanya Lyons, signing off.
My name is Blair Parsons, and I'm a librarian at the Central Library. Each week I highlight a selection of programs for adults that are happening around the Austin Public Library, and our full list of programs may be found on the library's events calendar. Thursday night, September 6th at the Central Library, the Austin Symphony String Quartet will perform pieces representing a wide variety of historical periods and playing styles. They will introduce each piece to contextualize it within its historical era, as well as discuss unique technical aspects of the piece. The Austin Public Library is pleased to partner with the Austin Symphony for our 2018 Ensemble Trilogy. The concert begins at 7 o'clock Thursday night, September 6th at the Central Library. Saturday night, September 8th at the Central Library, local author and library advocate Sarah Bird will read from and discuss her new novel, Daughter of a Queen. Book people will be on hand and Sarah will sign copies. The event is part of the Austin Public Library Friends Foundation's At Central series, which brings a broad spectrum of cultural programming to the Central Library. The Sarah Bird reading and conversation begins at 7 o'clock Saturday night, September 8th at the Central Library.
Hey there, Austin. This is Siona from the Teen Library Council, here to tell you about this week's library events for teens. Want to get a jump start on National Writing Month? Teens can join other writers, from novices to experts, at the Thursday night Teen Writers Room. Participants will learn writing exercises and practice with prompts, with future sessions focused on characters and story structure. The first session of Teen Writers Room meets this Thursday, September 6th, from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the Central Library's teen area. This program is reserved for ages 13 through 18. More details on Thursday Night Writers Room and additional programs can be found at library.austintexas.gov/events.
This is Alana Graves, the youth librarian at the Carver branch. The kids are starting to go back to school, and the Austin Public Library is offering free events for kids. Calling all Lego enthusiasts, Lego Labs are starting up again across Austin, where kids ages 5 and up can build anything they imagine. Legos are a great way to introduce your child to STEM education because playing with Legos teaches engineering, math, and problem solving. Children can create their own masterpieces or complete a special Lego challenge, but most importantly, have fun. This week, there's a Weekend Builders Family Lego event happening at the Twin Oaks branch on Saturday, September 8th at 2 p.m. Details at library.austintexas.gov.
You're listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, on Co-op 91.7 FM and KOOP.org. Radio for people, not for profit.
Support comes from the Austin Book Arts Center's Fall Fundraiser. I Saw the Future. There Are Books. Taking place at the downtown Austin Public Library on Thursday, September 13th from 6 to 9 p.m. The event will launch Austin Book Art's effort to find a new creative space. More information about tickets to the event as well as the center's fall schedule of classes may be found at atxbookarts.org.
Support comes from the Austin Public Library and AISD, now offering student library cards with access to homework help, research material, books, movies, music, games, and the virtual library. Details at library.austintexas.gov/AISD card.
Hey, welcome back. So before those announcements, we listened to a very short podcast, which is about the library's podcast. And I recorded that in response to some questions from a librarian who was writing a blog about the rising number of public library podcasts. It's a great way for public libraries to connect with the community. And so anyway, that's what that was all about. So this podcast and all Austin Public Library podcasts can be found at library.austintexas.gov/volumes. And so now we're going to jump right back into our conversation with Austin Public Library Communications Manager, Rachel Nguyen. And so now that we kind of got to know a little bit about you, got to know you a little bit, let's talk about the AISD Student Card. We heard an announcement for it just right before this.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are really excited about this program. The student library card is really about getting access for kids and partnering together with organizations like AISD and city leadership to make it a priority for kids to have access to the library.
Awesome. So how can this card help remove barriers for students?
Sure. What's different about this initiative this time around is the partnership. And one of the barriers is just getting into the library to get your card. So we are taking the cards to kids. Literally, last Monday, our APL ambassadors marched out to 130 schools and delivered 80,000 applications.
Wow.
So we are trying to get them into the children's hands. We're working with the teachers, the librarians, and the English teachers to make sure that all kids in elementary, middle school, and high school have something with them that they can take home, get signed, return, and get their card. So we're really excited about just bringing it to them, not asking them to come to us to get it.
Yeah, no, that's really amazing. So what kind of an effect do we think this is going to have on education outcomes? Like these kids having cards and having...
Yeah. Well, we do know that there's a correlation between books in the home and reading. And so, at the very basic level, it's like, let's get these kids books, and hopefully this card will help them have access to that. At another level, we hope that working so closely with AISD can help us understand programming needs. And so, the library can step in and help extend the school day or continue things that are being taught at the school. So it's really about just strengthening that relationship. I think our libraries already do a really good job of being in their neighborhood, and most of them already had contacts at the schools. It was just making sure there was a specific person and a name. So now we could just build on that and really grow the relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, we all know, of course, our schools have great libraries and, but they're only open when the school is open, and the public library is, we're open in the evenings. We have a lot of kids that come and do homework on the computers and, really use the library, outside of the Monday through Friday, school hours. So it really is giving them a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, it's great. And this card is full access. So in addition to all the materials, they also have access to our virtual library. And before this initiative
Wait, what's the virtual library?
The virtual library is all of our online resources, and it's amazing. There's audiobooks, digital books, homework help, databases that have research materials, which are already proven, so the kids can just jump in there and do their research. I actually sat down with one of our awesome reference librarians and had her sort of walk me through the database so I would have a really good idea of what's in there, and I was blown away. I actually have 2 teenage daughters, and I had no idea how much homework help is out there. And there's a online tutor that's, a person to person, and in a lot of subjects, including pre-calc, which came up at our house. So, yes. So we're very excited that, we have access to this now, and all we have to do is hop online.
Yeah, all you need is a library card to get into those homework help databases and all the other databases. It's so cool. So if you guys are just joining us out there, listeners, this is Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show on Co-op 91.7 FM, and we're streaming at koop.org. Details about this show are online at library.austintexas.gov/volumes. And we are here talking to Rachel Nguyen, who is the communications manager at the library. And we're talking about the new AISD Student Library Card. So I guess let's just keep talking about it. So what are some of the other ways that this library card that is available for all AISD students, regardless of their situation, how can this card help strengthen our community?
Well, one great thing about the library is the amount of resources they have. They can meet a person wherever they are. So we have resources for children that can't even read yet, and we have resources for their parents, and we have resources for their grandparents. So the library can meet you where you are, and especially like as a student, if you find a subject really interesting, you can get a lot more information. You can get books, movies, anything to help sort of further that curiosity. So, and in addition to that, we're hoping that the kids will, bring their parents in with them. And there's a lot of resources for parents too. And we'd like, the ability to connect parents to critical resources is something the library is great at. And so that's just another way we can kind of build our community.
Absolutely. How, well, I guess we kind of already started talking about this. I guess the rest of the question was sort of how can AISD, how can the Austin Public Library support AISD students? And we talked about, what the student card gives you access to, but what are some of the other sort of broader strokes?
Sure. Well, the library is, considered a safe, trusted place. It's a, place where your kids can come and spend some time and just relax, it's a part of, we hope it would be a part of your community. We've got wonderful summer learning programs, and we have them for children, but now we have them for adults too. So that's kind of a fun new thing. There's also like a sort of an area of like family learning. There's board games. There's ways for parents to interact with their children. So it can really be a family learning situation. Obviously, we talked about the books and the learning resources. We also have a great movie database, so it can be entertainment. You can come and watch a movie. And I guess we also really sort of nurture that love of reading. And that's one thing we absolutely excel at. And so, librarians can help you find that book that you're looking for. We have a great resource on our website. You can get recommendations based on books you've already read. Another thing I'm not sure people know about is Book a Librarian, which is a really great way to reach out. The librarian spends a half hour with you. You bring a problem to them. So let's say you want to start a dog washing business. They can help you access all the resources in town with small businesses. They can help you find information about businesses that cater to animals. It's an amazing service, and it's extremely personalized. And we've had some really great feedback. People that have come and used that service have just been kind of blown away by all the resources that we have. There was a great story about a woman that came in. She was working on some summer research, and she went to school in California. And it turned out we actually ended up connecting to one of the databases that was available at her school that she wasn't aware of. So, even connections like that. Now when she goes back to school, she'll have another resource to use there. So there's just so many things that the library can offer.
That's super cool. So for AISD families, students who are interested in getting one of these cards, the applications are actually in the schools, is what you were telling me.
Yes, we're hoping that their child has received an application by now. They went out last week, either through their homeroom or their English school teacher. If they're in high school, they should check in with their librarian or go online. They
can find the information online.
Yeah, they can find the information.
Oh, yeah, that's right. library.austintexas.gov/AISD card.
Correct.
That's where it is online.
Yes. So talk to your teachers, and that's how you can get the information.
Yeah. Okay. And so, well, I guess that's kind of the end. We're just getting to the end. So if there's anything else that you wanted to add before we bid adieu.
No, we're really excited about this initiative, and look forward to providing service for all of our students. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. It was great to get to know you a little bit more.
Fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Well, so that again is Rachel Nguyen, the communications manager at the Austin Public Library, and we've been talking about the AISD Student Card. Once again, it's available to all AISD, Austin Independent School District students. It's a full-purpose card. It gives you access to the virtual library, all of the other amenities that a library card offers, and it's great. So details about that, once again, are online at library.austintexas.gov/AISD card. I want to thank DJ Harris, who's our engineer, and our engineer in training today, and also hardworking media and communications volunteer, Federico Pacheco. Thanks for all your help. I don't know. It's not up to me to announce the news, but can I? So Federico is actually going to be working at Co-op now, and as the general manager here. So unfortunately, we're losing an amazing volunteer, but Co-op is gaining a really great resource. So so excited that was able to happen. So we want to just tell everyone, please stay tuned to Co-op 91.7 FM for Rock and Roll Pest Control. Thanks for listening to Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show. Special thanks to our producer, DJ Harris, and to the musicians who composed and performed our original theme song, Andrew Noble on violin, Kirk Duvall on guitar, and Mike Wheat on percussion. And thanks to you, our listeners. Volumes, the Austin Public Library radio show, airs Wednesday afternoons at 2:30 on Co-op 91.7 FM and koop.org. If you catch us mid-show, full episodes and other details can be found at library.austintexas.gov/volumes.